Hello, everyone, and welcome to ESET's presentation on Do More with ESET Remote Administrator. My name is Reid, and I am a Senior Technical Content Strategist for ESET. I've now been at ESET for over 3 years, and in both helping customers and creating content for ESET, I noticed that most people do not realize the full potential of ESET Remote Administrator. So this webinar was created to show all of you how you can do more within ESET Remote Administrator. Before we begin, some slides will have some text that may be hard to read if you do not enter full screen mode. You can enter full screen mode by clicking the icon at the bottom right of the presentation. Second, at any point in time, if you have any questions, you can press the question button to type in your questions, which will then be answered during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And finally, throughout the presentation, there will be several polls. And in order to participate in the poll, please click the voting button, then choose your answer. Okay, so let's get started. So over this presentation, we'll be covering 5 main areas: asset management, software management, update management, user notification and communication, and how to troubleshoot users' computers. So first, a poll before we hop into it. How many devices does your organization currently manage today? So I went ahead and opened up the voting, and then if you click the Votes tab, you can go ahead and submit your answer at this time. So while that poll is going on, a few of the basics. So first, the ESET Remote Administrator can be installed on Windows, it can be installed on Linux, or if you have a virtual infrastructure already, the management server can be imported into any hypervisor that you might have because we offer a virtual appliance. If you do have servers already in the cloud, we have an image that exists in the Azure Marketplace that you can simply import into your virtual infrastructure already. After ESET Remote Administrator is installed, you then manage everything within ESET Remote Administrator via any web browser that you might have. So within the management server, any computer record, you have the ability to click on the computer and get more details. So the details range from things like manufacturer to model to OS information. And it goes even further in depth by showing you information such as network adapters, serial numbers, computer names. Basically, you can get quite a lot of information just by simply clicking on the details information on whatever computer record you are within. And so the other basic component of the management server is dynamic group templates. And dynamic group templates have 3 main qualities about them. They automatically will evaluate any rule condition that you specify within them. They actually work both online and offline. So even if your computers are no longer connecting into the management server, and you have a dynamic group that tells a computer to do a certain thing, it still will work even if that communication to that management server no longer exists. And computers can be in as many dynamic groups as you want. So you can create as many as you want, and your computers will be sorted into all of those different groups. So what does dynamic groups actually look like within the management server? So by default, ESET sets up some dynamic groups for you that we think are important. And they do the very basics, things like sorting your Windows computers from your Mac and Linux, letting you know that your operating system is not up to date, or ESET updates have not been done, or also looking and sorting your mobile devices into their groups like Android or iOS and so forth. So by default, we already have several groups created for you so that you don't have to do anything else. But if you want to go ahead and create your own dynamic groups, you can simply click New Template. This will go ahead and this will start the creation process of creating a brand new dynamic group. after you do that, you can go ahead and you can start building the expression. And you can make these expressions as complicated as you want. You can have AND operators or NAND or NOR within there. And then when it comes to the information that you can pull in, it ranges from things like computer name, device identifiers like serial number, functionality problems like Windows Firewall is on or off, logged in user, network adapters, and so forth. So there's quite a lot of information that you can utilize to create dynamic groups that fit exactly what your company is looking for. So the first category that I said that we're going to talk about is asset management. So before we hop in and dive into that category, do you currently have an asset management or tracking system in place? Once again, I went ahead and opened up the poll, and you can answer A for yes, B for no, or C for not yet and looking to acquire. And so within asset management, there are a few things that people think are very important. Tracking manufacturer and model, tracking the OS information so you can see how you're proceeding with your maybe migration to Windows 10. Tracking serial numbers so that someone doesn't have to climb behind the desk and look up behind that computer to see what's going on or what their serial number is. Monitor hard drive space usage. So if someone's running out of space, you can be proactive about helping them delete items off their machine, move items to network drives, or buying them a new hard drive. And then monitoring plugged-in third-party devices like flash drives, cell phones, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, and so forth. So first, tracking manufacturer and model. Basically, all of the different components go back to that dynamic group template. So I can create these dynamic groups that are automatically going to key in on this information and sort computers into their required groups. So for instance, I have a dynamic group here that's looking in the device identifying information for the manufacturer. And I'm saying that if a computer has the manufacturer of Hewlett-Packard, I want you to automatically sort those computers into this dynamic group. And once I set this group up once, I never have to set it up again. And as computers communicate with my management server, they automatically get sorted into this group. Other things that we can do, track OS information. It looks very similar, but this time we're using the OS edition field. And we have contains instead of equal to. So I could say things like contains the word server, because we know that all Windows server operating systems have server in the name. Whether it be Server 2008 or 2012, there still exists the word server in the name. Or I could simply look for things like Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10, whatever it might be. We can identify that information and automatically sort the computers for you. So there's something else that you don't have to worry about because we can track that migration and how many computers you might have on a legacy OS. We can also go ahead and track the free space on hard drives. So if, for instance, you want to know when a computer has less than 10% of their hard drive free remaining, or maybe 20%, you can specify exactly the amount that you want to sort computers by. Then once this dynamic group template is created, you can then go ahead and very easily and quickly see exactly what computers are running out of space. When it comes to tracking things like hard drive free space, one of the most important things is the ability to be able to tie notifications directly to these dynamic groups. And that's exactly what we can do within the management server. For any dynamic group that you will see me talk about or create, you can also directly tie notifications to it. So for instance, if a computer has less than 10% of free space, you can automatically have an email sent to you letting you know that that computer is running out. And then finally, tracking computers by name. This is one of the more important things for larger enterprises because typically they have a naming convention for all of their different computers and hardware that they might have. Maybe they use LPT for laptop or DESK for desktop. Or maybe each department has their own code in the device's name. We can go ahead and we can key in on any part of that name or the full name so that we can automatically sort computers into their proper groups so that you can quickly find all of the computers that belong to a specific department, or all of the desktops versus laptops that you have, or all of the mobile devices versus desktops you might have. So within here, a few examples of what you can do is you can actually take these dynamic groups that we created, and you can apply policies for when a computer is on-premise versus off-premise. And as long as the computer connected in after the dynamic group is created, even if it no longer connects into the management server, all of the policy changes will still occur when the computer leaves the network. You could define device control rules based off the logged in user as well. So when an IT person is logged into the computer, maybe you want to allow third-party devices to be able to be plugged into the system. But when they are not logged in, you want to go ahead and block all third-party access so that users aren't plugging in cell phones or flash drives or bringing other things from home that they shouldn't. And then, of course, like I mentioned, any of these dynamic groups that you create, you can also go ahead and set up notifications to be sent when any of these things occur. So you can be very informed and keep up to date exactly with what might be going on in your organization. So the next section is software management. So a few of the things that are important to companies is tracking installed software and versions, robust reporting around those features, automating the install and uninstall of software applications, and finally executing command line scripts so that you can do things outside of just normal software install and uninstall. And in saying that, we'll go ahead and open up another poll, which is, do you currently have a software management system in place? The answers are yes, no, or not yet, and you're looking to acquire one. So once again, we go back to the main interface of the ESET management server. Once again, if you click on any computer record and choose details, not only can you see that device identifiable information that I showed in the very beginning, but you can also go ahead and click on the Installed Applications tab within there. And the Installed Applications tab will show you every single installed application on that specific computer. We'll tell you the version of those applications, we'll tell you the size of those applications. And we'll also tell you whether our ESET Remote Administrator agent supports natively uninstalling that application. And the real determining factor with seeing if we can uninstall that application or not automatically is basically if that application was installed with an MSI. Because if it was installed with an MSI, it will follow all of the relevant and important Microsoft rules for getting that application installed. So we can do very similar things to uninstall it. And we can make sure that there's no pop-ups for the user, no user interaction at all, and that application can be run completely silent. But we can show you everything on that system directly from here. And if you're a current ESET Remote Administrator customer and you do not see other applications in that section, what you first need to do is you need to tell ESET that you would like it to start reporting in all software applications on a computer. And by default, in our management server, we already have a policy created. And it's just as simple as clicking on that policy that says report all installed applications, then assigning it out to your computers that you want to take effect on. Then you can do all of the following things that you'll see. So reporting. Out of the box, we have quite a few reports based around install applications and reporting on software management features. So for instance, some of the most important reporting is all of the installed applications across your entire organization. So we can go ahead and we can kick off and run that report, and we will show you all of the applications across every single computer. We'll even show you how many computers each application is installed on, all of the versions that are installed across your organization. And if you want more information about a specific application, at any point you can also drill down into that application by simply clicking on it. And we will show you exactly which computer each of these applications is installed on. We'll also show you the date and time that that application was first installed on the computer. So we give you a lot of relevant information when it comes to these software installs. Also, built into our reporting, we have a report called Installed Applications in the Last 7 Days. This is a great report that lots of companies like to set up and configure to be sent to them every Friday. Then they can see if their user base across the last week has installed anything that maybe they shouldn't. Then you can find out exactly who it was, when they did it. Then we can initiate some things that you'll see in the future that will allow you to remediate that threat or remediate that software from the system. So one of the other things that you can do with software management is tie software management directly to dynamic groups. So instead of creating those dynamic groups to look for things like operating system, IP address, computer information like serial number or name, we can also create dynamic groups that look for the installed software on the computer. So I could create a group that says, show me all of the computers that have Google Chrome installed, or show me all of the computers that have Internet Explorer installed, or Firefox installed, or any other application that you can think of. And once again, we can tie this directly to a notification. So if someone installs Google Chrome, send me an email letting me know that they did that. Then we can go ahead and we can tie this directly to software install tasks as well. So within the management server, we have the ability to push out any package directly to a computer, whether it's an MSI, whether it's an EXE, whether it's a batch file, and we also can inject in any installation parameters that you might specify. So if it does require extra switches after that EXE, you can add them in the installation parameters section. You can also set it up and tell it that if a reboot is required after this application is installed, you want to go ahead and you want it to reboot that machine. We can also do a similar thing with uninstallations. So with uninstallations, if our agent does natively support the uninstall, which once again is all MSIs, you can simply come into the software uninstall task and you can select the package that you want to uninstall. When you click that package name section, it will show you all of the installed applications installed across your organization and all of the applications that we can uninstall for you. You can then select whatever one you would want, and you can specify to either just uninstall that version of the application, or you can say, I want you to uninstall all versions of this specific application. Once again, you can specify uninstallation parameters, or you can also specify if a reboot is going to be required after. Then finally, we have another command built into our management server called run command. And the run command task allows you to execute any command line commands that you might want. So executing batch files, MSI exec commands. Some people use the command line to disable things like Windows Firewall. But anything that you can run natively on a computer from the run bar or command prompt, you can execute remotely directly from the ESET management server. You can even go ahead and specify a working directory so that your application can be executed properly. Where this gets really important and really amazing is when you can tie these install, uninstall tasks directly to a dynamic group. So I could create a dynamic group that says, go ahead and locate all of my computers that have Google Chrome installed, for instance, or Firefox. If computers have those applications installed, I want to go ahead and I want to utilize this trigger, which is joined dynamic group trigger. So as computers are dropped into that dynamic group, this task will automatically execute. So if I want to make sure that Google Chrome is always installed on a computer, if ESET's remote administrator agent does not see it installed, we can automatically execute this task that will automatically install it. Or if there's an application that you want to make sure is never installed on a computer, if we see that it's installed, we can automatically uninstall it from the computer as well. So some of the examples of what you can do. You can send alerts and reports when someone installs a particular program that maybe you've identified that they shouldn't. You can automatically uninstall any sort of unapproved application. And you can automatically execute command line scripts to remove any application that you might have identified should or should not be on that machine. You can, of course, automate all of these things, or you can set up tasks to only run a single time. The next section is update management. And so update management is something that lots of people have, or even small businesses just leverage the fact that Windows Updates pops up a notification on users. But how many users actually go ahead and ignore those messages and continue to ignore those messages? Are you actually forcing those updates on users? And so with saying that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up the next polling question, which is, do you currently have an update management system in place? Once again, the answers are yes, no, and looking to acquire one. So like I mentioned, update management. Within ESET, you can go ahead and set up dynamic groups. And we will go ahead and we will look to see if the operating system is not up to date. And this works across all of the operating systems. So Windows, Mac, and Linux. So if your Mac isn't up to date, it will automatically get tossed into this dynamic group. If your Windows machine isn't up to date, same thing will happen. So this allows you to very quickly see what computers have or have not been updated. Because like I mentioned previously, users, you don't want to trust them because they always choose the wrong answer, most likely. So whenever those update messages pop up, lots of people say postpone, and they continually postpone it. So we'll let you know when those operating systems updates have not been done. We can also go ahead and execute a task, which is called operating system update within our management server. And the operating system update task works once again across all of the OSs, Windows, Mac, and Linux. And within here, you can tell it you want to execute all of the recommended updates or the recommended and optional updates. Usually with operating system updates, after they've been completed, they require a reboot. So you don't want users having to wait the next day when they come into the office in order for their computer to start up for the first time. So executing this, you can choose to execute it at the end of the day at 5 o'clock when people go home, and you can execute it only on the computers that are out of date. But you could set this up to be a weekly occurrence or a daily occurrence, or you could execute it to be once a month. So you could specify exactly how frequently you want these update tasks to actually occur. So some things that you can actually do with this is you can take those dynamic groups to easily and quickly identify computers that have not been updated. On Friday at 3 o'clock, you could actually send a notification to the users, letting them know, please do not shut down your computer. And then at 5 p.m., you can have the ESET management server automatically execute the OS updates, then reboot the computer once it's complete. The next section is actually user notification and communication. So user notification and communication can be very, very important because it allows you to notify users about downtime. notify users when they might break a company policy. And usually, some sort of user notification or communication system is much better than sending an email. Because lots of times users ignore that email. They just brush right over it. So pop-ups and things that get right in the face of the user hopefully allow your message to be conveyed more clearly to those users. So in saying that, I went ahead and opened up the next poll, which is, do you currently have a user or notification system in place today? And once again, the answers are yes, no, or not yet. So within ESET Remote Administrator, we have a task called Display Message. And the display message task allows you to display a pop-up on a user screen with a title and with a message. So you can let them know that downtime is going to occur today. You can let them know that they shouldn't reboot their computer today or turn their computer off because you're going to run operating system updates. You can also let them know when they violate a software install policy. Maybe they installed an application that they shouldn't have. So before utilizing software management and uninstalling the application automatically, you can initiate a message like this, letting them know that they installed something that they shouldn't, and we are automatically going to uninstall it. Now we can automate this entire process. So now you don't have to do any employee education, or you don't have to slave over a system to figure out what users are and are not doing. Because if we identify something that you set up as an install violation, we can immediately educate the users, then immediately remediate whatever we need to remove from that system. And once you set these things up once, you never have to set them up again, because these tasks are already set up and configured to occur whenever the users might violate whatever policy you have in place. So some things that you can do. So you can take those dynamic groups to identify that unapproved software. Then, once we do that, we can notify the user immediately by sending them a notification that they broke that company policy. Then finally, the last step is we could have a task already configured that will go ahead and automatically uninstall an unapproved application from the system. And once again, once you set that up once, you never have to set that up again. We will automatically take care of that entire process for you. And the final section is actually troubleshooting computers. So the last thing that an IT admin wants to do is walk over to someone's desk and help them. And the last thing a user wants someone to do is they don't want the IT admin to have to hop on their computer and sit there for an hour or 2 hours trying to figure out what's wrong so that they can fix it. They want troubleshooting to be done on the back end so that when they come to their desk, that issue is fixed very, very quickly. Or some companies have remote users, and users don't want to have to bring their laptop back to the corporate office in order to be fixed or troubleshooted and so forth. So ESET Remote Administrator Server allows you to leverage SysInspector, which is a ESET utility that can show you the running processes, registry keys, event logs, network connections from a computer directly within the management server. So now you don't have to walk over their desk to troubleshoot or remote in, or they don't have to bring their computer to the office at all. So in saying that, I went ahead and initiated another vote, which is, do you currently have a way to remotely troubleshoot computers in place today? And the answers are yes, no, not yet, or no, we just reimage computers whenever there is any issue at all. So I went ahead and opened the voting for that question. And so what does this look like in practice? What does SysInspector look like, and what can you do with it? So at any point directly from the computer details section, you can hop into the SysInspector section. And once in there, you can request at any time a SysInspector log from a computer. And what it's going to do is it's going to catalog all of the items on a machine. It's going to send it up to the management server, and it's going to put a time and date stamp on that SysInspector log. Then you can dive through all of these different logs to see what might be wrong on a computer. Because we'll show you the running processes, network connections, registry keys, services, drivers, Windows event logs. Basically, you name it, SysInspector will pull in all of that information and allow you to see it directly from the ESET management server. At the very top of the screen, we have a risk level. And the risk level will utilize our heuristics to show you what items you might want to scrutinize a little bit closer. Things that might be a little bit questionable. And so we'll show you these network connections you should look at, or these running processes you should look at a little bit more closely. How some companies will utilize SysInspector is after they've re-imaged a computer, or after they've bought a computer. They will go ahead and initiate a SysInspector log. Then, 6 months down the line, when a user complains that their computer is running slow, or something is going wrong on their computer, you can execute another SysInspector log. Then within ESET, we have the ability to compare those two logs and show you exactly what has changed over those past 6 months, or however long it's been. So if you have any of these tools that do any of the previous functionality, how much do you pay per year for that functionality? So we have a few answers here. Less than $5 a computer, $5 to $10 a computer, $10 to $20 a computer, $20 to $50 a computer, or greater than $50 a computer. I went ahead and opened up that vote so that you should be able to go ahead and answer that at this time. So far, I've gone ahead and I've gone through asset management, software management, update management, user notification and communication, troubleshooting users' computers, and all of these things, how they can be done directly within the ESET Remote Administrator Server. So you don't have to leverage other tools or purchase other tools, because ESET Remote Administrator Server can do these things natively within the management server. So basically, you can do much more with the ESET Remote Administrator Server than just manage AV. And before we hop into the Q&A section, I'm going to open up one last poll, which is I would like to request one of the following: contact from ESET Sales, a full-fledged one-on-one technical demo, a business trial so that you can test it out for yourself, information on becoming an ESET reseller, or information on becoming an ESET partner. And also, please go ahead, and at this time, you should also be able to rate the presentation directly within BrightTalk. And in saying that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Q&A session. So someone asked, is this recordable? Yes. So this presentation will be directly available on BrightTalk after this call. So what port should we have open for ESET in the management server if we have a firewall? So in order to do all of the functionality that I described throughout the presentation, the only port that is required is port 2222. That's 4 2s, and by default, that is the port that it will utilize. You can, of course, customize that and change it to whatever port you might want, but ESET agents only require a single port in order to communicate back to the management server. So which version of the Remote Administrator Server am I showing in my demo? So the version is 6.4, which actually came out about a month or 2 months ago. What limitations does the Mac OS X agent have in terms of software asset reporting and management? Everything that you saw in today, we can do the exact same things on Mac and Linux as well. We can see all the different Mac applications installed, and we can execute software install and uninstall on those Mac computers as well. How can I block webmail for users even when remote and not allow them to disable ESET? So one of ESET's endpoint products, ESET Endpoint Security, has a built-in web filter. That web filter occurs on the endpoint side of things. So you can put a rule in there that says block users from going to Gmail, Yahoo Mail, or any other mail providers that you might specify. And because that blocking occurs on the on the actual endpoint side, it allows us to block no matter where the users might be. It allows us to block even if users use VPNs or proxies because it's occurring on the endpoint itself. So in network settings, does the gateway address refer to the internal LAN gateway or the external WAN gateway? So in there, it actually will refer to the internal LAN gateway and not the WAN. But when computers go ahead and communicate into the management server from somewhere remote, you can also extract that WAN address or the fully qualified domain name of that computer. So you can choose to pull in either one of those criteria. Will the application report Office, Windows, Adobe product keys? It will not report it directly in any sort of report or things like that. However, if you utilize SysInspector, you can extract the registry keys, and within the registry, of course, that Office, Windows, and Adobe product key actually exists. Yes, so on Mac OS X, we definitely support install and upgrade of any applications that you might have. Does ESET have an encryption option for laptops? Also, can ESET Remote Administrator Server manage mobile devices? So, ESET Remote Administrator Server can manage fully Android and iOS devices. We have MDM features for both iOS and Android, as well as antivirus for the Android side. All of those computers or devices connect into the exact same management server. There's no add-ins or extras or things that you need to do in order to get those mobile devices to connect in. When it comes to encryption, yes, we offer a Windows-based encryption solution that will go ahead and it can also be remotely managed from anywhere in the world. The big difference is on the encryption side, there are no firewall ports that need to be open at all. We can manage computers anywhere in the world without any firewall changes. And it's fully FIPS 140-2 verified as well. Can you install .msu files? Yes, we can install anything. Basically, it would work the exact same way if you were going to write out the command line for it. So with regular MSIs, it's a little bit easier because we can easily deploy those. But any sort of exe, MSU, batch file, you can deploy with our run command task within the management server. So I would like to deploy my version of ESET with the ESET firewall turned off by default. So within the management server, it's very simple. Before you actually go deploy ESET, you can create a policy that disables the ESET firewall. Then you go ahead and you deploy the ESET agent to all of the computers, and that ESET agent will take that configuration and hold on to it. Then once you deploy the antivirus will be deployed without the firewall turned on. How do we disable the warning of Windows not being updated for all workstations? I don't like seeing my ESET administrator server letting me know about these things. So within the ESET Remote Administrator Agent policy, you can go in there and you can specify, I don't want to be alerted about Windows updates. I don't want to be alerted that Windows Firewall or a firewall is turned off on a computer. Or I don't want to be alerted when other applications are installed on computers outside of ESET. So within that remote administrator agent policy, you can specify all of those things. Then we will no longer go ahead and alert you about those different things. For this procedure, do we need a specific license for each machine? No, this is our basic antivirus license. So this will go ahead and this will work with any ESET business license. There's no extra charges. There's no extra fees to get any of these sorts of features. This is all built into our basic package of our antivirus. How do you add MSI packages to the software install task? So how you do it is you actually choose, instead of choosing to install a package from the repository, you choose a custom install path. If you mouse over the little exclamation point or question mark right next to you, it will tell you the actual command line that you use. I think that's file://. You type that in, specify the path for the installer, and then you can deploy it out. Is there an easy way to migrate to a new remote administrator server? Yeah, there's a very easy way to do it. Actually, in the attachment section, we have a whole section about installing, migrating, and so forth. If you click that link, it will describe the process for migrating from one server to a new server, or from migrating to a previous version of ESET Remote Administrator Server to the newer version of ESET Remote Administrator Server. If you're already on version 6 of ESET Remote Administrator Server, and maybe you're not on the newest, which is 6.4, you can go into the management server in the client task section, and there is a remote administrator components upgrade task. Within there, you can go ahead and execute that task, and it will automatically update your management server from whatever version 6 version you're currently on to the newest version for you. Yeah, so basically, within the ESET Remote Administrator Server, someone asked about multiple locations. You can set up one primary ESET Remote Administrator Server, and you can have multiple companies connect into that management server. For instance, we see this a lot with managed service providers. They have multiple companies that they might manage. With dynamic groups, you can leverage those and have companies automatically sort into their proper groups. You can have policies specific to each one of those companies. You can have reporting sent based off of those groups as well. And you can even customize user logins to the management server, and you can limit exactly what they can see and what they can do from in there. Or you can go ahead and you can set up what's called an ERA proxy at each one of those customer locations. And the ERA proxy will accept the logging traffic, and it will take it all, and then it will send it directly to the management server. So every single one of those computers is not connecting directly to your management server. Does the AV agent need to reside on the computer that we want to manage through ESET Remote Administrator? Yes. We are unable to do any sort of management or reporting unless the agent has actually been deployed out. Within our management server, we allow a few different ways to get that agent initially deployed. You can deploy it via push install directly within our management server. Within our management server, you have the ability to click a single button, and it will generate the scripts needed to deploy with GPO or SCCM. Or you can have it spit out an MSI or EXE that you can deploy with any tool that you might be more familiar with. Once that agent has been deployed to the computers, you then have the ability and flexibility to do all of these different things that we talked about. Can a report tell me the amount of threats that were found in, say, the last week? How do I do it through the management server? Yeah, so within the management server, there's an entire tab devoted to the threats section. And so within there, you can go and you can say, I only want to see threats from the last week, or I only want to see them from the last month or last year, or only on this specific computer. So there's a whole section devoted to threats, and within our reporting, we already have some threat reports set up. And you can customize those reports to exactly what you might want. Send me a report every Friday of all of the threats that we encountered in the last week. What is the cost for a 50-computer company? In order to get real pricing and ballpark pricing, just go ahead and answer the current poll that is open, and then you have the ability to go ahead and request a callback or quotes or trials and so forth. And we can have someone contact you with an email quote or a phone quote immediately after this call. So the remote administrator server works with all ESET products, whether it's our mail product that goes ahead and protects from spam, whether it's our AV products that protect from viruses and malware. But this webinar's focus was all on all of the things that we can do outside of just managing AV. We have videos on our YouTube channel that goes through all of the basics of the ESET Remote Administrator Server, which is, of course, the managing the AV functionality and managing products like our mail security product for Exchange. But within the management server, you can, of course, create policies and tasks and so forth, and fully manage any ESET product, no matter its product or OS. Can you update Java and Adobe products through the ESET server on clients' computers? Yes. So you could set up a task that identifies when computers have a certain Java version. Then, if it's older than that specified version, go ahead and install this newer version. By default, we don't just simply have a task that says update Java and update Flash. You have to identify what installer you want to deploy and on what computers or what versions do you want to deploy this application on. So the threat section in the ERA, what the threat section does and what ESET products do is trying to make it as easy as possible for administrators. So what that means is in the threat section, we're going to show you all of the threats that we detected and what we did to stop those threats. So did we delete them? Did we block them? Did we quarantine them? We will also show you where the threat came, what part of ESET detected it, and on what computer it was detected on, and finally the logged in user on the computer when that threat was detected. Directly from the Threats tab, you can restore items from the quarantine. You can also submit any files that you might want directly to ESET's Virus Lab for analysis. And if you ever get some sort of threat that you might be concerned about, or you might think it's a false positive, and you need immediate results, you can always contact our business support team. And our support is completely free, and they are open 5 a.m. Pacific time to 7 p.m. Pacific time. Our support is all based in the United States, and they can help you with remediating specific threats, fixing anything that might be considered a false positive, or if you don't need immediate assistance, if you submit things directly to our Virus Lab by right-clicking on them and choosing Submit, you will get a response back in 24 hours letting you know about that specific submission. Whether it's, yes, we missed it, or yes, it was a false positive and we went ahead and fixed it. If I have multiple sites and different organizations, is there an easy way to organize these PCs directly into a single group for easier management? Yes. So within dynamic groups, you could organize computers by work group. You could organize them by domain. You could organize them by the installer that you used to install on the specific computers. So then when computers come into the management server, they will automatically be sorted into each group so you can quickly see each one of your organizations. Or if your management server can talk to their different Active Directory domains, if they have them, you can also synchronize the ESET management server with as many Active Directory domains as you might want. Are reports exportable as an XLS or another format to manipulate? Yes. So reports can be exported as an XLS or a PDF. When we rename a computer on the domain, does ESET Management Server automatically update this change, or do we have to manually go in and do this? So within the management server, we have a task that is run that's called rename computers. And what that rename computers task is going to do is it's going to do exactly that. It's going to go ahead and it's going to query Active Directory to see if there's been any changes or updates. And if there have, we will automatically rename computers to their brand new computer name. Does ESET offer nonprofit pricing? Yes, we definitely do offer nonprofit pricing. And once again, if you just fill out the current poll, we can contact you with that nonprofit pricing. How do you run command line remotely on a computer? So within the management server, there is a task called run command, and that command is what you can utilize to execute any sort of command line commands. So it's under the admin section, then the client tasks section in the management server. Is there a way to install the ERA on Linux yet? Yes, we have a full guide on how to install it on Linux. If you're having any problems or issues, I can definitely have a support person reach out to you to fix any issues that you might have. But we have full guides on how to install it on Linux, whether it be one of the many distros that they might have. We also have a virtual appliance, which is Linux-based as well. Do we support Android devices? Yes, we have an antivirus as well as an MDM solution on Android devices that is fully manageable from the exact same management server. Can you upgrade from version 5, or do you have to do a clean install and start over? Yes, you definitely can upgrade from version 5. We have a full upgrade guide. And we actually have a migration tool that will take your policies, your logs, and so forth, and migrate those directly over to version 6. Can you block internet radio, streaming audio, and many different sites? Yes. So our web control feature allows you to block users from going to any sort of website, category that you might identify, and so forth. And once again, because it is done at the endpoint level, it allows us to go ahead and make sure that it's blocked, even if users might be trying to use proxies or VPNs. So what is needed on the client to allow access from the admin console? Nothing. All that you need to do is have the ESET agent installed, and that's the only thing that needs to be installed. No other changes need to be made at all. Once that agent is installed, of course, that agent would need administrative privileges to be able to get installed on a computer, but besides that, there are no changes that need to be made. We are a current customer but not using any of these features. Do we need to purchase separate licenses to be able to use these features? No. All of these features are built directly into our ESET management server. There are no extra costs, no extra fees associated with it. And in fact, the ESET management server comes free with any business license purchase. I manage multiple environments. Can I use these features from a central ERA? Yes, you definitely can. And that's what most of our MSPs actually do. They set up one management server at maybe their main data center, and then you can manage all computers coming in from a central location. Can you whitelist a particular threat? Yes, you definitely can. I typically don't recommend people whitelisting threats until they contact our support team, because lots of times people think that something isn't a threat. They whitelist it, and what do you know? It was a threat. So because our support's free and you can email them, chat with them, call them, we typically recommend give them a call, see what they think before you actually do that. If we're currently licensed for version 5, is there a cost to move to version 6.4? No, no cost at all. All ESET product upgrades are included with your ESET cost. So there is no need to pay anything extra to migrate to version 6 at all. Is there a way to set the default settings for an initial installation of ESET endpoint security without having to use a policy? Yes, directly within the management server, you can actually generate an installation package that has a built-in policy within it. So after installation, it will automatically use the configuration settings contained in that installation package. So it doesn't need to contact the management server at all. Yes, this product can be utilized for independent support consultants to manage computers at multiple locations. So our Android product has full MDM features. So it has the ability to manage everything associated with that Android product. So things like what applications they can install and uninstall, what features they can use on that device and not, and things like pre-provisioning of email and other features contained within the phone. You can all do directly within the management server. Is SysInspector a separate application? No. SysInspector has actually been included in ESET endpoint products for several years. Most people didn't know that it was ever there, but if you have any version of ESET endpoint products, if you open it up and go to the tools section, you will see it there. With version 6 of our management server, what we did is we introduced SysInspector to the management server. So now you can tell a computer to execute a SysInspector script, and it will go ahead and it will execute it on the remote machine, then pull the log directly to the management server so that you can see it. Can you create a policy that will tell systems off-premises to update from ESET servers, not on-premises? Yeah, you definitely can create a policy to do that. By default, out of the box, ESET endpoints will go directly to the internet for updates because our updates are typically 50 kilobytes to 150 kilobytes. So by default, that's how it's set up, but you can definitely tell ESET computers to update from the management server primarily. Then, if they're off-premise, automatically fail over to the internet. So you can set all of that up directly within here. How hard is it to move the management server from an old system to new? It's very easy. Like I said, we have KB articles on it. We have a guide on it. And actually, if you click the attachment section of this Bright Talk presentation, there's actually a guide that will walk you through that. Same thing with moving the ERA from one server to another. In that attachment, we have a guide that will help you do both of those things. We always, of course, have support that you can contact for help. But if you need more hands-on approach, like maybe you want someone to come on site, we can definitely do that, but that would be an extra cost. Does the upgrade tool allow us to downgrade and get the old version up and running right away in case of an upgrade failure? Yeah, definitely. You can immediately migrate back to an old version if that's something that you want to do. Can internet streaming and other things be blocked using AD groups? Yes. You can block it by local user, local group. You can block it by Active Directory user, Active Directory group. You can block it by computer, or you can block it by group within your management server. So you have the ability to block exactly what you want to block on whatever specific computers. Yes, ESET does have a virtual appliance already that you can take and you can import into any hypervisor that you might have. And yes, we do have MDM for iOS as well. So in saying that, it looks like we have reached the end of this call. We have hit the hour mark. Please, before you sign off, please go ahead and rate the presentation by clicking the rating tab at the top of the screen. And if you have any other questions, fill out that voting section as well, and we can make sure that someone contacts you, and we can hop on a one-to-one demo. We can send you to a public demo. We can point you to our YouTube channel as well, and we can help you out with any of these questions that I didn't get to today. But thank you very much for your time, and once again, please rate our presentation via the ratings tab within BrightTalk. And have a great day.